there's really not 10 things you need to do as a company. There's really like one, maybe two, and then understanding how those support it.
Mark, I appreciate you coming aboard and being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Reg. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Mark, a lot of these questions, we call it opening the kimono. So we start off with just kind of a few get to know you questions, right? What's one thing that has allowed you to de-stress, as a CEO? Like, is there a weird thing you do?
I don't know if it's. I'm the husband of one wife and the father of 3 boys, 12 and under. So when I'm home, I have to be home, and so that it's not hard for me to turn it off because my house is full of activity. So I don't know if that's particularly unique, but it is a lot of fun.
Oh, great! All right, very cool. And so, what are some of your favorite games to play with kids?
My oldest is playing lacrosse now. I coach baseball for my middle son, and my little one's starting to play baseball. We play a lot of catch in the backyards. We play a lot of card games. They show me Minecraft videos on YouTube a lot. Pokemon.
I think I laugh all the time because I think being a good CEO is like 2 things: money in the bank and amazing people around you. And if you can do those 2 things, you can be effective. And if not, you're doing a lot of other things.
Yeah, you know what? I'd add 1 to that because I think there's 3 things that a CEO has to do. The first thing is pick a strategy and set that strategy and scream it from the hilltops to your team every single day, to your customers, to the market, to your investors. So you have to have, pick a strategy and execute it. Get the right people in place to execute the plan, and 3, don't ever run out of money, right? So that's particularly for startup CEOs. And by the way, that's from Fred Wilson, who was an investor in one of my previous companies. That was his guidance to me as a first-time CEO, was do those 3 things.
How do you see those transitions through, right, and establish the trust with the team?
They're hard. They're really hard. So the first startup I was part of, I was part of the team when it was really early, and so it helped see that through the growth. But the last 2, the 2 as CEOs, I was hired in CEO, replacing another CEO, and that's really, really hard. But I think what you look for, and there's no shortage of those opportunities out there. So I think I'd like to think I got lucky with my first one. So my first one was a company called Outside.in, which was funded by Union Square Ventures, New York City Investment Fund, BetaWorks, great investors, and the CEO is one of the smartest, nicest guys in the world, the founder, named Stephen Johnson, the science writer, and how we got to now. Science and superstar, and he happened. Though the opportunity to work with Stephen and Fred Wilson in BetaWorks was, I didn't even have to know what the company was to know that I wanted to do it, and so I got really lucky. And so I got really lucky in the sense that, Stephen did not want the job. The founder did not want to do it, and he was plenty busy with other things that defined his success in his world, and he was super supportive of me. As it came to Bitly, there was a void, and there was nobody that I had to fight with to make the changes that I wanted to make. I think that the key to being so I got lucky the first time, and I was very specific about what I was looking for the second time. But I think some of the keys are like honesty, consistency, and honesty and consistency. I think you have to be, and part of what happened here at Bitly. We changed the whole exec team and most of the company because you have to understand that companies have life stages and skill sets. Different skill sets are required at different life stages. And you said yourself, if there's somebody who can run your company better once it starts getting to a certain stage, you're going to want to do that, and you understand and recognize that. Doesn't mean that the people who worked at this stage before weren't fantastic, didn't contribute to amazing things. But that just means that the needs of the company and the skill set of the people is different. So that's what I talk about. Honesty is you need to be able to have those hard conversations where, look, Reg, you're awesome, right? And you are the guy that gets us from 0 to 1, and you know that, we know that. We need to now go from 1 to 5. These are the kinds of skills we need. These are the kinds of things we need to do. Would love for you to be that guy. Are you? And you'd probably say no. And right, then we celebrate you and we figure out the right way to make those transitions. So you got to be honest. You have to have those hard conversations. I grew up on the path to self-actualization. I don't know if I ever got there, but being able to be honest with yourself about what's working, what's not, and know that it's okay if it's really scary. And I don't know any business that doesn't have moments where you're really scared or you're really nervous about something that might happen. Like that's hard. That's really hard.
No, I don't know if it's even just for startup founders. I think if you're an executive in a big company and you're strapped with a huge monumental like change task, or you're trying to create a business unit out of nothing, I mean, I think you still go through those pain points and you're still like mired in frustration. I like, when we started the call, you talking about, your team and how you are honest with them and how you kind of move them forward. How do you prepare your day and your week and your month to be successful?
Well, I think that what I'm finding lately here at Bitly is that my relevance in the company is on a sort of beginning and end of quarter cadence, and that's because I've got a really good team now, and I'm really gotten to the point where they're excellent at what they do, and that's been a personal stretch goal for myself, is to make sure that I'm hiring really fantastic people and empowering them to do what they want to do, so they can do it better than I ever would. So I find myself thinking more in quarters and years than I do in days, which makes planning my days harder, because there's still a lot of transactional stuff that has to happen every day, running the company, and the details that aren't always sexy or fun, but fill up your day. But what I try to think about, what are I was thinking about this morning. I didn't do a good job of it, but I rode the train in this morning and was like, okay, I was out yesterday, so what are the 3 things I have to get done today? And there's one thing that floated to the top in a big way that I'm focused on, but you can't get everything done every day. So I sort of balance out the quarterly objectives and goals for the team. We've got product goals, we've got revenue goals, we have lots of other operational goals as well. So I just try to think about those, and I try to get the right perspective on the day and think about how I should spend my time relative to achieving those goals, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. No, you hear people talk about things like radical prioritization, and I'm just like, how can you have radical prioritization when everything seems like it's a catastrophe if it doesn't get sorted?
Yeah.
It's a cool soundbite.
No, it's awesome, right? If you could actually, I can't tell you how many to-do list and Evernote and other things I'm looking at on my browser that I've tried to keep track of everything I'm supposed to do. But I just keep coming back to, I know what we need to do I have an opinion, and I know what we need to do to be successful as a company, and my job isn't to do it all. And to a great extent, I'm measured, and the company's measured on quarterly, certainly quarterly metrics and whether we're achieving those goals. So that's where I try to spend my time, and then I try to support my team on the daily and weekly. I've learned how I learn, and I don't learn well cramming, and I don't learn well when I'm stressed. I've never once in my life done an all-nighter to prep for something, because I just don't. I haven't stayed up all night, but I have never I would never put myself in that position because it stresses me out too much. But I do think that I read a great book called The Relaxation Response, which is a super easy read for $6 on Amazon. It's one of the first books written about how to meditate and how to relax, with science behind it. And there's apps and things to do that. Finding 10 minutes a day to do that, can really clear your mind and give you the perspective you need. And I think as CEOs, or founders, you're much more effective when you have perspective, which gets to the part we're just talking about from perspective. If you raise around or you're in a transition, the truth is, as a CEO, you are afforded a level of perspective that few else in the organization can actually have, right? So your salespeople should be passionately crazy about hitting and beating their goals, right? Your product people are shipping product, your HR is working on hiring and retention, and your CTO is keeping the site up and running, and all those things that are like super, super, super important, and they are to them and to the company, but you as CEO know what your major milestones are. If they're not stated, you know you need to, geez, if I'm going to get to a B round, or I'm going to get somewhere, I need to get to 100 million blank, or I need to have certain sort of distribution, or I need to prove that I've got product market fit, right? They might be like specific goals, or they might be the next chapter in your story. And that's where I think CEOs need to spend their time, is if they are effectively hiring and supporting their team and putting the right strategy in place, then you need to be thinking about your story, right? So we had a public beta, and we went from A to B. We raised an A round, and then we went to 10 million users, and we grew 600%, right? Setting those benchmarks and milestones, then you can put into perspective, I think, the different day-to-day stuff, perhaps, and the things that matter more and don't. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you've got to be able to map back your daily to your quarterly results. It's so hard to make that transition. I think sometimes you just get stuck because it's easier to just continue doing the same things even after you raise your money, but you know in the back of your head you're just lying to yourself, right? Oh, we're never going to hit this goal.
Yeah, no, I've been there, right? So I think that it is hard, right? But I think that the gift that you can give yourself as a founder and a CEO is like you really do know if you're making progress or not, right? And if you can be really honest with yourself, oh, I lost a salesperson today, or we lost a deal, or the product didn't ship when the team said it was going to ship, but you know what? Like, we're up 400%, or you know what? We are getting really great feedback on this, this, and this. There's really not 10 things you need to do as a company. There's really like one, maybe two, and then understanding how those support it is important. That's really hard, by the way, to then have conversations with your team about the things that, like, yes, I know that X, Y, and Z is super important, but like, don't forget, like, if we're not growing 1,000%, it's not going to matter.
If there's something that you could say to the technical founders that's out there for encouragement or even discouragement, like, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them as they go in the day-to-day?
Limiting it to one piece of advice, don't hold back. Really go for it. There's a difference between, like, if it's going to work, it's going to work. Give it every single thing you've got. Don't leave anything on the table. Don't give up.
How do you inspire that in your employees?
I don't know if I do, but we have pretty aggressive goals, and we try to put them in context for why is it important that we grow at a rate that may seem crazy, right? And and keep growing at that rate. That means a lot of hard work. So I think at a smaller company or an earlier stage company, it might be easier to lead by example, right? First one in, last one out, always online. I've been there. That's hard. You can't do that forever. There's a time limit to that your body and mind can actually do. But I think that, again, you have to be, even as a hired-in CEO, you have to be somewhat dysfunctional and crazy to come work in an industry where the rules are rewritten every single day. So it attracts a certain kind of person.
Oh man, I know we're over time, but one more thing, because you just mentioned the word breaking point.
Yeah.
We all get there, and I'm just gonna assume that you hit the breaking point.
Okay. Safe assumption.
Yeah. How do you get back up the next day and still like push forward and get yourself corrected?
Well, you need help, right? So there's a whole range of what hitting the breaking point means, right? But I had help. I had a phenomenal coach, actually, which was a luxury to have. Jerry Colonna is the Yoda of CEOs and was super helpful. And look, you gotta. There's a certain sense of personal accountability and responsibility. And I think part of what makes it hard for CEOs, what was us CEOs, right? But like, you know, I think the best ones feel personally accountable and responsible for everybody on their team and their well-being. And it's you got to get up, and you got to make sure that, like, you know, I'm looking at people on the team now. They have kids. They're on a company's health insurance plan. They're saving for, you know, their first house, or they're trying to pay off their student loans. And if you don't get up, like, that's on you. So get your ass up. It's really hard, and I know in some cases it's much more meaningful than that. So I'm not making light of it at all. But like, you got to go. You got to do it.